Hey everyone, how's it going? Welcome back to Player One, Player Two Sports for our Week 3 predictions.
Before we get into it, make sure you guys go like and comment and check out our Instagram and our Twitter for more questions, polls, and other things like that. Let's get into it. For the Thursday night game, we have the Carolina Panthers taking on the Houston Texans, and I have the Panthers winning this game, although I do think that Houston will keep it close. I think they're the frisky team of this year, I believe. But the Panthers have come out week 1, week 2, and just shown that they're really rebuilding that team, and that offense looks unstoppable. And Tyrod Taylor's out, and they have Davis Mills in. And I think Tyrod Taylor was kind of the heart of that offense.
Yeah, I also have the Panthers taking this game. I honestly, if Tyrod Taylor was still in, I might have taken the Texans, just because Tyrod Taylor's been looking really good out there, and I think he's contributed a ton for them, looking as good as they have. But now that he's injured and he's going to be out for a few weeks, I'm definitely going to give it to the Panthers. They're just looking better and better every week, every game. And Sam Darnold's turning out to be that guy on that team. Next up, we have the LA Chargers versus the Kansas City Chiefs. Now, hot take, I have the Chargers taking this one. The Kansas City defense just could not do anything to stop the Baltimore Ravens. And the Ravens managed to pretty much hold down the Chiefs' offense. I mean, they held Tyreek Hill to only a few touches and a few yards. So I think they proved it is doable, especially with that injured offense. And I think that the Chargers actually have a really good chance of winning this game.
Mm-hmm. I agree with you, but I have the Chiefs winning this game. I think the Chargers' offense is a little bit less explosive than the Ravens, although they do have way more weapons. I think that the Chiefs are just in a higher class than the Chargers are right now, and it's in Kansas City, so the crowd's definitely going to help them out. Next, we have the Pittsburgh Steelers taking on the Cincinnati Bengals. And what's funny about I have the Steelers winning this game. They've kind of been on and off through week 1 and week 2. But the Cincinnati Bengals also look like a team that has been, they've been staying in games that they probably shouldn't be in. But at the same time, I think the Bengals are a little iffy when it comes down to it. So that's why I have the Steelers winning this game.
I also have the Steelers. I think the Bengals have looked really good, so I think it's going to be a very close game, but I think that Steelers defense is going to win it for them. Even though they haven't been looking as great as they did last year, that offense has been really slow, but it's building up momentum now, and that defense is still looking amazing. They did lose to the Raiders, which is a tough loss, but the Raiders looked good in the win. It wasn't like they just lost to a bad team. The Raiders have been looking really good, and I think they come out this week and beat the Bengals, especially since they're at home. Next up, we have the Indianapolis Colts versus the Tennessee Titans. Now, this one I thought it was going to be a close game going into it, but then I thought about it with Carson Wentz being out spraining both his ankles somehow. I think the Titans are going to take this one. Derrick Henry's, getting the ball rolling. He looked really good in the second half against the Seahawks. The defense is still pretty iffy. The receiving core is still yet to hit their stride, but I think the Titans are going to take this one on the back of Derrick Henry. He seems like he's that guy again, and I think it's going to be tough to stop him.
I have the Colts winning this game. I know that they're 0-2, but they're two close games, especially the Seahawks and who they play this week, the Rams, and those are two high-powered teams. I do think they're going to stack the box and try to control Derrick Henry. I think Derrick Henry definitely is getting back to form, but I do have the Colts winning this game.
Next up, we have the New York Jets versus the Denver Broncos. Now, I think the Broncos are taking this game. Teddy Bridgewater's looked amazing. That defense has looked great. The Jets, they started off looking decent. They put up a reasonable game against the Panthers. Not great, but against the Patriots, it's really just showed their weaknesses and how they're not ready yet to be a competitive team. So I think the Broncos are going to take this one and continue their undefeated streak.
I also have the Broncos winning this game. I got Zach Wilson coming out and throwing 4 picks. Really makes it tough to make an argument for this game.
First two throws of the game were intercepted.
But on the other side, the Broncos do look great. The defense looks fantastic. Teddy Bridgewater's coming out and just throwing dimes, so I do have the Broncos winning this one.
Next up, we have the Washington football team versus the Buffalo Bills. Now, I think this is going to be a close game. The football team's looking really good. Taylor Heineke, I've always said it, is that guy, and he proved it against the Giants. But I don't think they're going to beat the Bills. I think the Bills are coming out looking really good now. They're hitting their stride, and I just think that I think the Bills are just a better team overall than the football team. But I think it's going to be a very close game.
I also have the Bills winning this game. I still think Josh Allen's getting the ball rolling. He didn't have like the bestest of games against the Dolphins, although they did win by 35 points. The Dolphins still held them for under 200 yards, but that run game started to get going with Zach Moss and Devin Singletary. I think it's going to be a lot closer than people think. I do think the Washington football team's defense is going to hold them pretty well. And Taylor Heineke's definitely going to keep them in that game, 100%. Next up, we have the Miami Dolphins taking on the Las Vegas Raiders, and I think the Raiders are going to destroy the Dolphins. They have a run game, which is the Dolphins' weakness on defense. That Dolphins offense just looks horrendous, whether it's Tua not being able to make the right read or that offensive line just letting people walk through and getting sacks. They just look abysmal right now.
Yeah, I also have the Raiders taking that game. With Tua looking like he's not even going to play next week and how poor they looked against the Bills, and then the defense bailed them out against the Patriots. They're just not looking good right now, as opposed to the Raiders, who are looking phenomenal. I think maybe the Dolphins can turn it around and make it a close game, but I think the Raiders are pulling this one out and getting the win. Next up, we have the Chicago Bears versus the Cleveland Browns. Now, with Andy Dalton looking like he might be out for a few weeks, you have Justin Fields stepping in, which opens up that offense a ton. Although I do think they're going to fall short to the Cleveland Browns. I think it's going to be a close game because the Browns, they didn't look great last week against the Texans, but I think they overall have a better team than the Bears do. I think Justin Fields is going to suffer for some rookie mistakes. It is his first, actual NFL start. But I think he's going to show flashes. I think that Bears defense hopefully will keep up their performance from last week. But overall, I think the Browns are going to take this one. And again, I think it'll be a surprisingly close game.
I agree with you. I also have the Browns winning this game. But the Browns have a weird way of just keeping games close, and I think if you give a little bit of wiggle room to the Bears, especially Justin Fields, they're definitely going to take advantage of that. But the Browns are just, in a different class that the Bears are in. So yeah. I have the Browns winning this game.
I think the Browns are definitely going to win, but I think there is definitely a solid possibility that Justin Fields comes out and looks great and pulls out the win against them. Next up, we have the Arizona Cardinals versus the Jacksonville Jaguars. Now, I think this one's pretty obvious. The Cardinals have been looking great this year. Kyler Murray's been, really making a campaign for why he should win MVP. Or MVP. Also, he did technically win MVP week 1. So I think, with the way they're looking and how the Jags just can't seem to do anything right recently, I think this one's definitely going to the Cardinals, and I think that one's a lock in my mind.
Yeah, I also have that game being a lock. The Cardinals win it. Oh my God, I don't see Trevor Lawrence throwing a touchdown this game, especially with I don't see him throwing a touchdown this game.
I see him definitely throwing some picks.
Yeah,
there's gonna be a lot of picks. I feel like there's gonna be a lot of fumbles, but I feel like he'll put up 2 touchdowns. That's my guess.
Well, it's just gonna be tough with that Cardinals defense, who's looked like just night and day from last year.
Oh, for sure.
Especially with those young linebackers just really pulling their weight. I don't know. I feel like Trevor Lawrence is going to continue making those rookie mistakes. I don't necessarily think they're all his fault. That offensive line is terrible. But yeah, I think the Cardinals win this game.
Next up, we have the Baltimore Ravens versus the Detroit Lions. Now, I have the Ravens winning this game. Lamar pretty much, put the team on his back and willed them to win against the Chiefs, who is everyone's favorite to go to the Super Bowl. He's looking good. They're showing that even with injuries, they could still pull out wins. Then you got the Lions, who do look, I will say, they look frisky. They do look frisky, but I don't see them winning this game against a team that just beat, the guys that are the team that have made the Super Bowl the past 2 years. I think the Ravens are going to take this one. I think that defense will have trouble stopping Lamar. Although I think they'll do a fairly good job, but I just don't think they'll be able to pull it off. And the defense for the Ravens has proven that even with their injuries, they're still a solid team.
I have the Ravens winning this game as well. I think it's going to be tough for Jared Goff to, really help his team out if he's still throwing those, 5-yard passes. Yeah. I think the Ravens defense could really hold him. Lamar Jackson, my God, what a performance. Just really looking like the team.
Yeah, he's looking looking like he is the Baltimore Ravens. Yeah. Although, again, that defense shut down Tyreek Hill, which is very impressive.
And Marquise Brown being, a good
not a liability.
Yeah, not a liability. He's looked good out there for the first 2 weeks, and I think that's really huge considering that they lost. Who's the guy that they drafted?
Rashad Bateman.
Rashad Bateman, which we all thought was going to be a huge asset to that offense. So yeah, I have the Ravens winning this game.
Next up, we have the New Orleans Saints versus the New England Patriots. Now I have the Patriots winning this game. The Saints looked great week 1, but again, in week 2, they showed that they're probably going to be inconsistent this year. While the Patriots have, I think, been pretty consistent throughout week 1 and week 2. Sure, they lost to the Dolphins, then played a bad Jets team, but I think they could pull out the win against the Saints. I think if they just keep their consistent game plan and show their players keep playing at that level, I think they'll be able to pull this win off and beat the Saints.
I also have the Patriots winning this game. Like you said, the Saints seem like they're going to be a really inconsistent team this year. And I think Belichick's going to Belichick. I think he knows what he's doing over there. He's made them look a lot better than I think that roster says they are, especially with Stephon Gilmore being out. It's a huge loss, but Mac Jones looks better week by week, so I think the Patriots take this game.
Okay, now we got the Atlanta Falcons versus the New York Giants. Now, these are two teams that just have not looked good in their first 2 weeks. The Falcons seem like that previously explosive offense just cannot score. And then you have the New York Giants, who were proven to be a frisky team last year and were looking good going into the season, just not being able to pull anything out. Although I do have the Giants winning this game, I think between the two, the Giants have looked slightly better. They actually have some life on offense with Daniel Jones looking good on the Thursday night game last week. So I think they're going to be able to pull this one out. I think it'll be an ugly game. I think it might be boring, but I think the Giants will pull this one out.
Yeah, I also have the Giants winning this game. It's either going to be a really ugly game or a really high-scoring game because the Giants showed they can't put up points against a really good defense. It's just really going to come down to how long a team can last with continuously scoring points. It's gonna be a rough game actually. Never mind.
All right, now we got the best game of the week in my opinion: the Tampa Bay Buccaneers versus the Los Angeles Rams. Now I think this is gonna be a close game. They both look amazing this year, borderline unstoppable. Even though the Colts game is close for the Rams, I'm gonna take the Bucs though. I think they just right now they look like they got the ball rolling. They're looking fantastic. They look in control of all their games. And I think they're just the best team currently. Although I do think the Rams are gonna see them again in the conference championship, and then we'll see how that one goes. But for now, I'm gonna have the Buccaneers taking this one.
I also have the Bucs winning this game. It's really tough to really see them. I guess not being explosive in a game, especially with how many weapons they have. I know we bring this up every time, but Tom Brady's on pace to throw for 77 touchdowns in a season, and that is just absurd. I think it's really be a battle between Tom Brady and Matt Stafford.
Mm-hmm.
Who can really get the ball rolling quickest. I think if whatever team scores first is really going to control the game from that point on, but I do have the Bucs winning this game.
All right, next up we have the Seattle Seahawks versus the Minnesota Vikings, which is another game I think is going to be fairly close, but I have the Vikings taking this one. The Seahawks have looked great. Russell Wilson, again, is in the beginning of season form when he's at his best. I think the Vikings have been looking good out there except for against the Bengals, but it was still close. So I can see them coming out and getting their first win this week. Even though Seattle's coming off a loss and probably will come in, really wanting another win. But again, I just see the Vikings winning this one. I don't know why. Couldn't tell you why. In this matchup, I just see the Vikings winning.
I have the Seahawks winning this game. I think it's just MVP Russ versus the world at this point, at least through the first 6 weeks. I don't think the Vikings are going to be able to keep up with them. Not so much on offense, but more so on defense. It's going to be about holding Russell Wilson down. Who do they have? They have Pat Pete at cornerback, right?
Patrick Peterson.
Yeah.
They got Eric Hendricks, Harrison Smith. Daniil Hunter looked great last week, even though they didn't get the win. What else they got? Michael Pierce. That defense actually looks pretty sturdy this year.
Yeah, it looks pretty sturdy. I just don't know who's going to be able to cover both Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf and really try to hold either one of them down, because either one of them can go for 125 yards and 2 touchdowns. So I definitely have the Seahawks win this game.
Next up, we have the Sunday night game, Green Bay Packers versus the San Francisco 49ers. Now, this is a tough game to call because the 49ers have really, almost lost both games up to this point, even though they're 2-0. And then with the Packers, you don't know what Packers you're going to get. Are they going to be bad? Is Aaron Rodgers going to decide that he wants to win this game? You don't know. So I'm going to take the 49ers. I think I mean, again, it's close. You never know. This one's going to be a tough one to call because one team has looked really good, but again, has almost lost their way out of games. And then the other team is at most inconsistent. So I think I'm going to take the 49ers.
I also have the 49ers win this game. It's definitely just, you don't know where you're going to get from both of these teams. I think the 49ers are more on a roll than the Packers are. It's really going to, I think it really just relies on Aaron Rodgers and how he's feeling that day. And, does he want to win?
Who knows? Jeopardy's looking real nice.
Yeah.
Finally, we have the Monday night game, the Dallas Cowboys versus the Philadelphia Eagles. Now, I think this game is actually going to be closer than most people think. I think the Eagles have looked really good this year. Even in the loss last week, it came down to the last moments of the game. They had a few costly mistakes. Then you got the Cowboys, who have really looked amazing this year. They've kept up with the previous Super Bowl champions. Then they went into the Chargers and won that game. Although I think they won from a couple calls from the refs that kind of bailed them out. But yeah, I think this one's going to be tough. I don't feel confident about this. I think the Eagles might actually come out and surprise them and come away with the win. But although I, again, would not be shocked if they lose, it's really a toss-up in my mind.
Yeah, I have Dallas win this game, but like you said, I could see the Eagles coming out and playing a great game. I still think Jalen Hurts is the guy. That Dallas team looks fantastic. The fact that you've been able to keep up with the Bucs and then play against a really good Chargers team and keep that close as well and, get a win, I think they're going to keep it going in week 3.
All right, so those are our week 3 predictions. Let us know who you have winning these games, and we'll see you next week with our week 4 predictions.